Let me start by welcoming you all to the CPE 213 Data Model course. This course is originally named it as Data Modeling and Visualization, and that is what we are going to learn in this course. Um, so, so that is, and then we will continue into the contents of the course. But before that, let me first introduce you to the criteria that you need to aware for the course, especially the grading and the authors. And the latter session will be about the introduction, which I prepared for to introduce you to the applications and the things that you can study further once you have completed this course. All right. And as many of you have already register and then take part in the I would say this semester trial on using the concept called gamification. I have incorporated the self-learning part into the course as well. So it means that if you take the assignments at data camp that I have put there, those will be converted back to the score, right? And during my course here, during my lecture here, if you have any questions during the lectures, you can raise your hand using the button in the Zoom. You can turn on the microphone to speak, or if you don't want to disturb the flow, I wish I know many of you think that way, but I would rather that you ask the question right away. You can type into the chat, and I will check. I will check at the chat when I can, which mostly will be during intermission, right? Intermission period, I think, about when I finish with the concept at each of the slides there. All right, so let's start. Okay, so we are here today to learn about data models, and you may have heard that this is the era of data. Learning concepts in data will allow you to pursue a lot of things by not limited to just seeing what happened, but maybe to predict and estimate the likelihood of things that might happen in the future, right? So by understanding data, it will allow you to pursue the study in the deeper and more difficult disciplines like in AI, in the statistical model, or even further towards something like master degree or the PhD. Right? This will be beneficial to you all. Okay, so let's begin. Oh, my name is Sanditham Prom-on. This is probably the first time that we see each other. You can call me Ajan Yai. That's my nickname, or you can contact me using the Facebook. That's fine, or using department's email. Okay, so the learning outcome of this course is to allow you to be able to evaluate and apply the data analysis technique in different situations. And I hope that after this course, you should be able to create suitable visualizations for specific data and specific problems, and also understand data science process and know the role and the thing that you need to do in order to increase your capabilities if you want to pursue the path of data scientist or data engineering, right? So that is the aim of this course. The books that I use, this is, well, because we will use R in this course. That means the thing that you have learned in the first year using C is good. That I think it will be worth the other courses as well. Because C is the foundation, but you know that when you write C program, you need to take care of a lot of what did I say? A lot of memory management, tedious tasks, right? Disk management, memory management, and you need to be exact in terms of the syntax and in terms of the declarative style of the language. And that is a little bit complicated for those that are not from computing world or from programming background. Right? R is created for statistician. It is actually originated from S language, and it has been used to deal with data for quite some time. And nowadays, R and Python are the two languages that if you can master both, then it will allow you to do lots of tasks. And it has been used in the actual setting in business as well. So we will use this book as the main textbook. I would say the main reference book that you can study further in this course. But many of the lectures that we will cover in this course, I created my own. Right? I created them by myself. That means they will not be in the book because when I created those lectures, I kind of pick up one data set and then outline the concepts that need to be that are necessary to show you how it works, and then fill in the content into that. So probably it will not be exactly as the book, but this is a good free book. You can access the book here by this link. Or you can buy the book. There's, I think, I bought one, a copy, hard copy from Kinokuniya, I think, and there's also the Kindle. It is also available at Kindle store. But there's also the free book here. Right, feel free to use any of them. And the author, the slides, the paper, papers mean the research paper if we use any, and author documents we provided if we were to touch those topics, or if you want to have more materials on any types of things that you are interested in, you can ask in the groups. Right, we have the Facebook group for this. Oh, sorry, this is wrong. Let me switch. Okay, yeah, I forgot to change that. That is from the last year. So for this course, we will learn online. We have two group here, one for your section, another is for Thai section. And well, your section starts from 8:30. That means you have to rise a little bit early and then come to my class. And yeah, this is my email. And also, please don't forget to sign into Data Camp. You need to use the university email to sign into this link, because I figured so. Otherwise, I wouldn't know that it is exactly you guys. Right, so use university email with the domain @mail@kmut.ac.th to sign into this. Right, and you need to be active on this in self-learning, because we will convert that back to the scores here. Okay, so the score distribution is a little bit different this year. So we will still have the examination for 60%, right? And the examination will be on the theoretical and practical aspects of data modeling and visualization. Okay, but instead of having just the lab and homework and the term project for 20 and 20%, we have new distribution this semester because of this COVID crisis. So there will be assignments. You can take a look at those assignments at Data Camp. I already put them there for I would say for the first 2 months before the midterm examination, right? So those will be about the basic programming and visualization and the tools, the libraries. Okay, there is 15% for term project, which for this one you need to pick one set of data, right? One set of data and perform analysis. We will talk about that later on. I think I have description down here. You need to pick one set of data and then conduct an analysis exploration in terms of visualizations first, and then doing modeling, creating predictive modeling, machine learning to perform prediction on that data, and that is for the midterm. and incorporating together, we have a nice data science study project, which will be your term project here. The term project is a group work because there are a lot of you guys combining the whole all section. There are about like 150 of you guys, so I cannot have individual assignments and projects. There's too many. Right, and there will be labs, or you can think of this as homework, but I would like to call them lab because I asked you to perform experiment, and that will be 10%. Okay, so just turn in the lab, and if you complete it according to what I asked, then you should get that percentage. So it will be 1% for each lab. Okay, so let's take a look at the course outline. If you have questions, feel free to raise your hand or chat in. All right, I'll see it as notification here. Right, so the course outlines are this. We have this lecture is the introduction to data modeling and visualization, which after the introduction to the course, we will take a look at the application later on. And basic R programming for the next lecture. Right, we focus on the basic programming. You will know the data type, the syntax, and how you can use R. You need to install R and the necessary software for that on that lecture. And then afterward, we will take a look at different types of data visualization. On this, you see a number of visualization which is good to address different problems. When you have different questions, you need different solutions to address those questions. And at that lecture, we will learn about the options. Actually, the basic options, I would say, that you can use in order to create visualizations from the data that you have. And then you can see that there are only about 4 or 5 lectures before the midterm because we are so unlucky that our course is on Friday. And you know what? There are 2 holidays that hit us on Fridays. I don't know. At first, I thought maybe I should just teach even though it's holidays. But it turns out that after the midterm, well, we still have enough slots, so never mind that. So that's why you see that luckily we have data camp for this semester. So during the holiday, you can still take those track learning and then try to complete them in time. Okay. And yeah, on the fourth lecture here, you can see that we skipped the 12 to 19. We will start with the visualization of the data distribution. This is a very important step in exploratory data analysis when you kind of deep dive into the data to see what really are there. And then again, 1 week skip on the 5th of March, we will learn about data visualization 2 on the relationship. Right? You will learn about how to represent, how to analyze relationships between variables, between multiple columns of data. Okay, and then there's midterm, and then after the midterm, now things becomes better. Right? We have like the data visualization 3, the network representation. You learn about how to represent data using network, how to interface R to database, and then use database query to extract data, or how to use the R libraries to perform lazy processing of the database. Right? We will take a look at that on this day. And then afterward, you learn about statistical distribution, how to model the statistical distribution and perform Monte Carlo simulation. And then the subsequent 3 lectures will be about modeling, basic modeling, including linear regression, logistic regression, and the basic machine learning here in decision tree, right? And then finally the term project and the final exam. Okay, are there any questions here on the topics that we will cover? Feel free to ask, and if you want to know something special from this, propose that into the group. right? I will consider them and I will incorporate them into the lecture if I can, right? And yeah, we have one chat coming in. What date of midterm exam? Well, I think this will be about, because the reason that I blank him out because there's the midterm period, and I suppose that should be. Let me check. That should be on. Should be on 12. It should be on 12th of March, because the period is the exam period is on 8th to 16. If nothing changed, then I will use the same policy as last semester. Then the exam date should be the same date as the class. So we should have the exam on this day. But if I were to use the class marker, the online platform for you to do the exam, then the exam will be carried out at the same time. Your exam will be carried out at the same time as the author section as well. So it should probably be on the 12th of March, but the time will be announced later. All right. Okay. So you have for the author percentage for the learning. Well, see, we have the quest that you need to earn the experience exp point from DataCamp, and then at the end of the semester I will convert those experience back to the score 15% that we worth that. And lastly, the term project. The term project is like partial requirement. You need to submit it at the end of the semester. So you need to perform select data set and then perform analytics. Just that. And then have presentation, submit your work. Let me show you this. Okay, I should share the screen here. Okay, so for the project, it will be a team project. Each group will comprise as 5 students, right? You just talk to your friends who you want to work with together, but distribute the workload evenly. I will leave that to you guys. Talk to your friends. Because otherwise it will be like just a few people doing the work, which is not good, because later on when you take other courses like business intelligence, or if you further take my courses on big data, then you lack the skill to create or do something like this, and it is not good at all. Okay. So we have 2 tasks. So here there are 2 tasks for you guys to work with. The first one is visualization. For each project, you need to create visualizations of the data, explore the data to see relationships between between attributes in the data. And then, which depends on the problem that you select. We will use a public dataset here, which you can acquire that from the Kaggle. I will show you later on how you can download the data from Kaggle. There are a bunch of data sets, some of which will be a little bit more difficult, which require you to create something like deep learning to do the job. But some are simple enough that we can use them in this course to learn about data science. Some are too simple, and you should not select to work because it's too simple, and those type data sets are good in showing showing how concepts work, but it's not good for the project because you learn only a little bit of the difficulties that you encounter in the real life. So that's not good things. And you have to create model. You have to create the model on the data that you prepare. and make prediction with respect to the tasks of that dataset. So different dataset will have different tasks. All right. And the output will be the technical report and the presentation. The due date is 7th of May, which is the day for the presentation. Okay. So it means that you can select whatever data type you want. And I will create the registration sheet so that you can register the topics and also select the schedule for presentation as well. All right. So are there any questions that you would like to ask about the course information? Otherwise, after this, I will continue on introduction to data modeling and visualizations. Any questions? If the questions are not coming to your mind right now, feel free to drop them into the comments, into the Facebook group, right? So that I will know, I can answer you immediately right now or like as soon as possible. Because if you ask some questions too late, like the questions about the projects, the question about other thing, if you ask them, well, let's say before the event, then it will be difficult to change things. Okay. Right. So let's start. Let's take a look at the content here. So the rest of the slides for today will be the rest of the talk for today will be about introduction to visualization. Actually, you may have heard that the data field, like data engineering and data science, are very popular occupations now. You can get really high salary, or the jobs itself are very prestigious. That you can get into like high tier in the company, and you can advance your career if you know stuff about data, about how to deal with data, about how to answer a question with data, right? So why is that? Let's take a look. First, imagine where the data come by. So how do you obtain data? Can anyone answer this? How can you collect? How can the company collect data from you? Survey by form. To steal the data, that is actually really necessary because, we have already collected your data here. I collected your data. I collected your emails through the data camp. You have already input the email to the registration. I already have your name, your email. When you register to the university, you already deposit the data to the university. All the data that you deposit, like your blood type, the dates of birth, and others. When you register for the telecom company to use the mobile phone, you already give them a lot of data. When you use the mobile phone, actually right now that you use the internet, you already create certain data, like usage data. You have your own demographics data. So the thing that you wrote here, survey form, member cards, they are all correct. That these are the channels that the company can collect the data. But actually, the channel can be more obvious than these things. Like, say, this is one of the example. Like, if you are the prospective customers that you want to purchase things, you may call the call center to ask whatever you want. And just doing that, you already incur the data that the company can collect. And many companies do collect those data, right? What are they? Right? Maybe you ask the question. So your voice will be recorded. The call center will know the number that you call in, and it can match, if it has the database, it can match that with the database that it has. The call center can also classify, listen to your question, and then take the form so that the information that you asked to be filled into the record of the systems. So by asking the question, you have already created the data for the call center company, right? The call center answering the questions also create the data there. And then maybe you want to, after calling the shops, you want to purchase, and then you go to the online store and then browsing. Here, you also created data. Can anyone tell me what types of data that you created here? Just the thing that come to your mind, right? What are the data that are collected through the process of browsing? Right, browsing data means the click. When you click on the link, the timestamp and the clicks are recorded. When you search the items, those are recorded. When you add things to your basket, those are added to the basket, right? So the data are collected, and the item itself contain data as well. For example, like this microphone. If you add this microphone to the basket, this microphone also has the demographic data, that it is dynamic microphone. It has its price. There are like review data accompanying with it. There are like many other demographics or the data related to these entities that are related to the item itself. So by adding the item to the basket or by selecting that item, you have already show your interest, right? Like that. Which in terms of data, these will be collected as the raw data. Like it will be the table format that entailing maybe the first column will be a timestamp that it happened. The second column can be your ID, and the third column can be the item, and that it can collect lots of data of the interaction from the website to understand the behavior of the user that's come in. And from that data, actually data scientists can analyze further to analyze the click patterns or to see what types of click would lead to the purchase and other things. Right. So after browsing online, you may be interested in some items. Then you add to the cart, right? Add to the cart, and this already also created certain data that you are interested in this test. Just try. Maybe I'm not sure about Lazada and Shopee though. You can try some of these online shopping website. When you add items to the cart and then you abandon them, then some time later there'll be emails. Are you interested in buying these items? There are promotions or other things. That means the site itself collect the data and then it analyzes that you have potential to purchase this data, to purchase this item. Then it kind of trigger the event so that the email marketing system would be active and then send you those promotion. And then you pay for that. You create the data on the payment, and then you have become something like enroll customer in this online shopping site, and maybe you create more data by purchasing more. And you can see that just from this step, just from this one step of transition from being just a prospective customer to become the enroll customer, or the customers that use services in the company, you have already created different types of data. Some of these are in unstructured format, like the voice. Some of them are in textual format. Some of them are in the database format. And if we were to analyze them together, it means that we need to have skills to mix the data together. If we want to use them to answer the question, just like what are the key aspects that we have to observe so that we will know that this customer would purchase the items from our online stores. In order to answer those, we need to mixing the data about customers together with the data about the item and the data about transactions, right? You can see lots of data manipulation and data analytics here, all right? So this is just onboarding, right? Just the onboarding process that customer becomes the enrolled customer. But just think about it. There are plenty of processes in business. Like there are, we see here as purchasing, right? But how about repurchasing? How about marketing? How about logistic? How about customer relationship management, finance, and others? So there are a lot more that would create data. And nowadays, data has become one of the, I would say, main driving force that transform organization to become much more than it is when it's originally used performing business duties. Like if we take a look at telecom company right now, you will see that the main function of telecom company is to allow you to access or connect to your friends, to the thing that you are interested in, right? But right now, you can see that telecom company become much more than that. They become more like data-driven company that use the data to see what types of interest that you have, and then maybe offer those things to you guys. Okay. So you can see that there are different types of data, right? The first, these can be, we call this customer journey, right? This cycle, this path of the data generation, a customer journey. Different types of customer will have different journey. For this one, we talk about customer, right? Things that in the person that is inside here. But suppose that you are not studying about customer, but instead you are studying about, say, a device, right? You want to create the predictive maintenance that would predict whether the device would fail or not. Then the middle point here would not be customer. Now you want to assess variables about devices. Then these aspects of data will be different according to the item, the focus of the or sometimes I would call this the unit of analysis that you want to perform analysis. Okay, so we can divide the types of data into 4 categories. The first is demographic data. Demographic data is the data set. Let me use the laser here. Is the data about the characteristics of customer, right? So what are demographics data? For example, demographic data would be explanation about individual, about the unit of analysis. Like if we talk about customer, then this would be the age of customers, gender, income, occupation, handset, geographic, and value, maybe value properties. You can see that these variables, these descriptions, most of them are quite static, and most of them has one-to-one relationship to individuals, right? So are there any others that you can think of? Maybe think about yourself and the data that you have at the university. What types of demographic data that you think university have on you guys? Can you give me some example here? What are the demographic data for students that you can think of? Come on. ID, the year, okay. Think about a thing that is one-to-one relationship to yourself. Blood type, okay. Name, well, yeah, gender here already. The grade, no, the grade is not demographic data though. The grades come from the interaction of of students with the universities, and that it results in grade. So I would call grade as transactional data, right? The types, yeah, parents, date, not yet. Birth date would be more specific. Uh, all right. The transactional data is the data about interaction of the entities with the business. Well, most you put the ID there, but the ID itself cannot be used in analysis, right? Like the phone number. Phone number is a good demographic data that would tell you that you have, for example, this ID, but it will not allow you to analyze, let's say, distribution of the phone data. It is meaningless. Okay, so what else that I can think of about this? Maybe the department, right? You are enrolled to the Department of Computer Engineering, and that is the demographic data. The school that you are from, right? And that is quite specific. The province that you are currently staying, the address, right? So those are, you can see that most of them are quite static relationship, and they are more like one-to-one relationship to the individuals that you want to perform the analysis here. Now, if we were to switch this from students, now let's think about other things. Let's think about the demographic data of items in Shopee, or of clothing. Right? Let's talk about clothing, about the shirt, about the pants, and the others. What are demographics data of those fashion products? Type them. Size, correct? What else? Color. Designer, brand, well, maybe yes. Yeah, color is there already. What else? The price. Okay. Come on. What do you look for when you buy stuff online? The name. Target customer is a bit far-fetched because we would not know that, and the company wouldn't be in store. The tags, yeah. Image, okay. The types, materials, fine. What else? What the thing I can think of is like dimension. Oh, the size, well, you have to say that. The weight. Yeah. So those, if you were to switch the unit of analysis to other things, then demographic will change to those things as well. Feedback there is not demographic data, right? The feedback is more like interaction data, right? Let's move on to the next one. Next one is transaction data. Transaction data is the data about the, I would call that the interaction, or the thing that you interact with business, with the main function of the business. Like for the university provide courses, education, you enroll to the course, and then you get the results as the grade. So transaction data would be the data about your participation to the courses, and also the results of participations. Those are transaction data. If we talk about online store, the transactions data of online stores can be something like the sales data, right, or the return data. If you talk about hospital, then what will be the transaction data for the hospital? Help me here. What are the transactions for hospital? Come on. Transactions, okay. The transactions data would be the data that are generated when patient visit hospitals, right? Think about the customer journey. Transactions would be created when there is the business functions of that entities performing, right? So we were to look here, some of these will be the transactions. Appointment, yes. partial record. Partial record, if we talk about the previous records, right, previous visit, then yes. If we talk about partial record in terms of the demographic data, then no. Yeah, so it can, the partial record itself can have different types of data in there. Partial information, that would be more of the demographic data. The symptoms of that visit, then this is the transaction data, okay? Doctor appointments, yeah. Diagnostic data, yes. Prescription of that visit, yes. Right. So these are the transaction data that can occur when the prospective patient visit the hospital. Now it comes to the next one, the red one here is the interaction data. Okay, I should go here. Like for telecom company, you can think about this as the transaction data. I use telecom company as example here because I am also a consultant for those companies, and also it is quite easy to pick them up. They contain the company contains all types of data, and then it's easy to use as example. Like you have the CDR when you call your friends, that call will be recorded. Not the voice itself, but I mean the detail about calling, about the number, about the time that is used will be recorded, and the location of the call when that is placed, particularly on the tower that it registered to. Right, so that's the call detail record. This is transactional data. When you use internet, like now, the users will be logged to the system. That's transactional data. The location of tower when mobile phone switch from one to another, that is also transactional data. You can see that transactional data are quite dynamic data that are created based on the usage of the stuff of the business functions. The CRM data, customer relationship management, like when you use privilege by by coffee using points that you gather in the app, for example. The app uses call center, payment information, service plan. You can see that these are the data generated from the actions that you have. Yeah, treatment is also transactional data. The next types is the interaction data. Interaction data is the data that occur when the unit of analysis interact with itself, with entities, with the company. But the difference between of interaction data and transaction data is in terms of the purpose. Transaction data is kind of the thing that is created because you use the service, but interaction data is the data that is created because you want to interact. This is important, especially for some company that want to maintain relationship with you. Like the telecom company want to really know whether you would leave the company or not. So if you call the service in order to make a complaint or in order to kind of asking for new promotion, then the company would log this data and then treat this as interaction data because there are purpose attaching with those interactions. So examples of interactions data are the email log, chat log, the click stream, app stream, the in-person log when you walk into the shops. And think about when you when we something like this Zoom classroom. What types of interaction data do you think the Zoom company has collected here? Okay, type away. You can turn on the mic and speak. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, in every lectures I have recorded this video and the screen, and then I'll mix them, edit them together, and post them to the group so that you can review that later on if you want. The chat log, yeah, this is interaction data. Actually, the creation of the participation here, the Zoom participation, the video participation is already interaction data because we create something like a graph here that think about this as me creating the room as a host, and then you guys connecting to this room. So we have already created this type of network, this type of relationship, of graph relationships. And as you have learned it in discrete mathematics, with the graph, you can analyze the graph, right? And then get something out of them. Interview is interview interaction data. Well, you can think of it that way, although mostly when you have interview, the data will be too few in terms of the data points, because you would have like just a few interviews. But your friend said about something about the feedback of the meeting quality. That is interaction data for sure, that you provide back to the provider. And that means, think about this network, think about this graph. It means that the for each of these, this link will be evaluated, right? This link will be evaluated, and then maybe it can be combined using graph theory, right? So this is interaction data. Lastly, the behavioral data. Behavioral data are the data about your state of mind. I would like to say something like that. It will be about data about your opinions, preference, desire, and the need. These data are something that I would like. I think the better way to frame this is to think of them as the secondary level data that comes from the analysis of the earlier data that I mentioned. Like, in order to get the opinion, well, you can get the like metrics. From the like metrics, then you can perform something like collaborative filtering to know the preference. Have any of you heard of the company called Cambridge Analytica? I suppose you may have from the news, right? So the news says that Cambridge Analytica collect the like from Facebook and then perform analysis to know what types of opinions of a person would have on different topics. This happened before 2014 because Facebook before 2014 opened the API for you to actually download the data about who like what, who like which page. And then from those data, the analytics people can I would say extrapolate, estimate the relationships or opinions of each individuals towards certain topics, especially those that are quite sensitive in US, and that's a thing that has been done. The desire and need, right? Desire, like which products that you want, and this can be obtained from the browsing history or the wish list. Through the click stream, then while analyze those, then you can know this whether there's a desire there. And the needs, like the need in terms of the tax. This is tax season, that people who got salary, got earning, has to pay income tax, right? So by knowing this, the bank might approach customers before these tax seasons in order to ask whether they want to purchase the tax elevation, tax reduction plan, or purchase products that could reduce the tax. Or in life, if the company is able to detect which customers is pregnant, let's say this about that. So there's a company in US called Target, right? Target analyze the basket data, the shopping cart of each customers, and then predict which family would have a new member in the family, like would have a child, by assessing which one has a tendency in pregnancies. And then they offer something. They offer products to those families, because there are lots of things to buy when you got kid, like the car seat. For US, it's obligatory the car seat, the stroller, and other products, which can be offered beforehand. So Target's company use this data and then do the targeted marketing on that specific purpose. And his bad become obvious because they kind of analyze data of their customers, right? And then they just one day they send the promotion to a family, and and when the letter arrived, the father open the email and open the letter, and it says something like, "Congratulations, you got a new child, and these are promotions." And he got furious because he didn't have new child, so he like to like take a legal action with the company. And it turns out that his teenager daughter got pregnant. And that's become like the news in US because company can now know that who got pregnant. But there are lots of but I think that has been left on that is like what is actually the precision of that letter. So that letter may kind of be distributed to lots of people, and that might be the kind of lucky case that he got that. But yeah, so the father know that his daughter got pregnant later than the company know. So that has been quite a new back then. So yeah, predicting even in life or in finance, and this can be the aim of the company to know that. Right? Yeah, your friend has comment here. If you use Grab application and it's collected the data of the journey that I went, what type of data, interaction or behavioral data? Well, there might be a number of them. If you took, say, Grab car or Grab bike there, then it might collect the location. Like so, think about that as the transaction. I would call that. It can be represented as transaction because you use the service and then you deposit the data there. But it can also be interaction as well. If we talk about location to location, if you want to perform location analysis to know what are the popular routes, then you need to treat them as interaction. So I would say that the same data can be classified as different types. It's not that's limited to just one type of data. Except some of them like the demographic data, which has certain specific characteristic like one-to-one to the entities. Okay. Yeah, it usually should be interaction, but well, if we were to talk about behavioral, the popular route that I'm talking about, that would be behavioral. That people may want to travel on this path, and if the company know this is the behavior, they can create something like promotion to attach with that behavior. Right? So this is the difference between them. Okay, now you know that there are different types of data. I would like you to expand your mind and see data all around you and think what types of data are there. But doesn't mean that data will answer every question. Some data can answer some question, some may not. Some data are external to the companies. If you think about university, some data will be in the university, the data that you have already deposit to the university, the data that university has. But some would be the outside data. Say, if we talk about the company, data from social network would be outside data. And not every customer would have social network, would have smartphone. The drama just happened earlier, right? About the application to do COVID tracking. It's not everyone would have smartphone. So that means some questions can be asked at the external level, but the scope would not be specific. For example, a question like, what are the keywords related to customer segments? If you want to bid the keywords to Google, to Facebook, but what should be those keywords? These will be, you can see that these are quite coarse in terms of the specificity to individual. Like, what would be my keyword? The company would not be able to do that to analyze into that extent, but it might be able to say, if we were to say the news, the thing that people are interested in right now would be about what? About COVID, right? Be about uh, different stuff, right? So those will be the data from outside. It can answer the questions that are quite summarized into a large scale, or like which campaign combination would help conversion. What does it mean by conversion? Conversion is the marketing terms mean that you kind of convert those who are interested in product to those that purchase product to the customers. Right? So maybe we may be able to answer this question by analyzing the weblog and the ads that we have. Coming in further inside, like we might want to know which product features are important, what feature that user do not want, and what are the pattern that would trigger, would tell us that this customer should leave the companies. So when the scope of analysis become more personalized, you need internal data, right? But when the question is more of the summary of the overview, then with the external data, with the data that are quite summarized statistics, that might be enough. Right? So this is the difference between internal and then the external data. Okay, and that occur in this era because we now have the new style of IT, that there are more and more data. The data back then from mainframe, there would be data collected in the server, just quite a few of them. But with the change from logging into mainframe and work to something like client server systems, we have client connecting with servers. Both can generate data. With the era of the internet, then we have multiple connection, like from one to one to one to many to many to many, and then to so many interaction with the mobile social network here. Right? So this is the old statistics. Right now, I would say that there are much more than this in terms of the tweet, in terms of the status update and others. So quite a lot of data are created every second. With that, companies all around the world has shifted their interest from just providing service to know what customer want, and that make data the new oil, the new things that will change the face of the company. I would say that you can think of data as the resources that you can mine, you can put them out. But in order to drill the data out and I would say refine the data into the proper product, you need data science. You would need to have the skills in data modeling and visualization and data preparation as well. So the idea of this course is to teach you to be able to turn the data into decision, into the knowledge, into summary on what really happened and answer the question. In order to do so, right, there are stack of layer of analysis that need to be done. Starting from when you collect the data, we can have the data that are collected but have not been used at all. Right? Just take a look at the university. University collect a lot of data. Like back then, especially if we take a look back then. Nowadays, it's a little bit better, but back then, I think the higher there are certain regulations that we need to collect what is called Mongkut 3. Yeah, I don't know what to say. TQF, right? It's called TQF. Or in Thai, it's Mongkut. This is more like the explanation of the thing we will teach. And then after the course, we have to prepare another document. And then this document have to be summarized all together. There are those are plenties of data all around the country. Right? And then they are collected at the I think back then is the Office of Higher Education, I think, and then they are collected there without anyone really take a look at what happens. So that's data. Data doesn't tell you anything if you are not performing other things. If you do not create this pyramid of refinement of data. So when you give the data context, like if you think about the news, if you collect the news, they are just string, right? Just collect them in the database. It doesn't tell you anything. They're just strings collecting together. But when you give the context into that, like you give the classification of the news, then you know that okay, today there are more political news than the criminal news. There are sport news, there are investment, or the context can be. So this will reveal the relationships, right? It will reveal that there are certain patterns of topics occurring by time. Or if we say that context here can be the word meaning, that if there is the word investment, then yeah, maybe the news are related to investment of that specific company, of the name of the company, then we will see the relationship there. But and then if we give it the meaning that if there is the word rise, it means that the stock would rise. If there is the word investment, that is positive. If there is the word like trouble, those will create negative to the company. Then we give that, it means that we give meanings to the text. And that creates the knowledge, which will allow us to review patterns that occur, patterns that are related to being positive or negative. Right? And you can see that these are the analysis of data in the past. It will allow us to see what are the patterns, what happens. And then if we were to give this an insight, let's say, if I collect the data of today back until the beginning of the month, and then after, let's say, after 1 month, I also collect the data, the insight of the stock market 1 month from now. Now I have created something like the thing that will occur in the future and the thing that has happened in the past. And by analyzing them together using modeling, we can see what are the relationships, what are the principles, the best principles that would allow us to predict, would allow us to estimate the values of the thing that would happen in the futures. And if we further give that a purpose, then we can create a machine that can decide. This has already happened. Think about the there in the stock market, there are some of the mutual fund that use AI to decide how to manage portfolio, which stock to sell out, which investment to take in. And that decision sometimes comes automatically by analysis of data. Right? So by given purpose, say to maintain the risk and have most money out, have the most reward, then AI can decide what action it need to take. Right? So the whole refinement here can transform from data into decision. If that were to become automatically, we have now created an AI. If it were to stop at a certain level, we have created analytic report, right? An insight report. If we stop at this level, we have created the predictive model. So there are different products that come out of different layers here. Okay, and those different products can be classified into 4 types. The first one is the type that is called descriptive analytics. Descriptive analytics would answer the question of what happened. This is like if I were to take a look at your grade right now, and your as your grade in your first year. So that's descriptive analytics. I would know what happened, right? Then diagnostic analytics would answer the question of why did it happen. If I want to understand why did you fail my course, I might associate the fail and pass variable with your previous record to understand why is it happening. This is called diagnostic analytics. A little bit more difficult, but has more value because you know the reasons things happen. Then the third layer is the predictive analytics. In the predictive analytics, this would answer the questions of what will happen in the future. Like, you have not taken my course yet. Because this is the first lecture, right? You will not know the grade that you will get at the end of the semesters. But I can't create a system that take in your previous grade and say your midterm participation and predict what types of grade that you will get, right? And that is the predictive analytics. This has been the main focus of a lot of company in Thailand in order to predict what would happen maybe the next month, the next years, so that the company can offer things to customers before the customers would buy, or maybe in order to increase the sales. Okay, and that this is predictive analytics a little bit more difficult, and it now involved with something that happened in the future has more value. And last one, this is foresight. It means that this is called prescriptive analytics. Prescriptive means something like the prescriptions that the doctor would give to a patient. Prescriptive analytics is the analytics that would narrow down to the personal level, and then would suggest what types of action that would be needed. For example, in prescriptive analytics is to create a model that would recommend products to customers. You have exposed to all of these already. For example, just I would say that in the past week you have already taken a look at, you have already used prescriptive analytics model. Just by turn on the Facebook, open the Facebook, you have already used prescriptive analytics because your feed timeline, your feed would be personalized to you, right? So which one comes first? That is from prescriptive analytics. Which ads we would see, that is also from prescriptive analytics. Netflix list, prescriptive analytics. YouTube list, also prescriptive analytics, right? So this is from the recommendation systems, right? So it is a little bit more difficult, but you can make more money with that. So here are different range of products, and each of these would lead the data to decision and business action at different pairs. For descriptive analytics, it would lead you to something like halfway here, and then you need to have human input. Also the same for diagnostic analytics. Predictive analytics would lead you to closer to the decisions, while prescriptive analytics would lead you to the decision directly. And sometimes it would perform decision automation, like in Netflix, that it decides automatically which content would show you, right? For decision support, it would give you some types of choice for you to choose. All right. So now is my question here. What types of analytics are the best types? What type of analytics is the best type? Can you tell me? What do you think is the best type of analytics? Is there prescriptive, my answer is more cliche than that. Yeah, depending on the thing that you want, right? Let's say, is descriptive analytics not that good? Well, maybe not. Think about it. If you want to perform analysis for human, for executive in the company, to know what types of investment that the executive should make, would you create a system that design for you, or would you create a descriptive analytic report that would tell the statistics of the thing that happened, of the current status, and then let the executive make decision? Right? Because why would we want to do that? Why not just having computer do all the jobs? It is obvious, because we cannot, when you write C program, the thing that you are not included in the C program, in the program, would not be involved in the decision, right? And we know that human involved with a lot more than money, involved with a lot more than the thing that should be decided by number. There are certain humanity issues, there are certain other issues that we might not consider, maybe legal issues and other things. So if we want to perform analysis for human, then descriptive would or diagnostic would be the best way. If we want to perform analysis for humans so that human can make decision easier, let's say if you work at the marketing company and then you have a list of customer, let's say 100,000 customer, and you need to make a phone call to them so that you can sell the stuff to those customers. What would you do? Right, with the predictive analytics, you can let the system rank customer based on the likelihood of purchase, from the high likelihood to the lower likelihood, and then make a call from the top to the bottom, and that will save a lot of effort to do the job, to do the business function. Right? Prescriptive analytics is good for automatic system. You don't want system to tell you make decision for you. Otherwise, it will be like psychopaths. It will be like those sci-fi movie that, well, you have machine decide you are guilty, or decide that you want this, you don't want the others. Right? So this is good for automatic system, non-critical automatic system, like offering you the choice to what which you want to watch. But you will see that this will not be involved in, say, medical, because they are quite critical and the error cannot be made. This will be mostly related to something like email marketing, involved with something that the system can perform decision automatically without involving with any ethics, without involving any AI ethics that need to be regulated here. All right. Okay. So the whole thing here is to transform from data into decisions, and the process involved with mainly two disciplines here. Right. The idea is to allow the organization to make decision based on data instead of based on intuition. Right. So this is called data-driven decision making, deciding based on data. And two concepts are related to this one. The first one is data science. Data science is a discipline that you study behavior or phenomenon that occur at a company using data as the observations, and then create an automated DDD, automated system that can make decision for you, or automated system that can analyze the data automatically for you to support decision at the company. This can be done, analysis can be done with the support of data engineering. Data engineering focus on how to access the data at the best performance at the massive scale. So right now the trend is on big data and data virtualization, but maybe it will change 5 years from now when you are graduated. The concept of data engineering may incorporate other things into that, right? So I would say 2015 to 2020, people talk about big data. From now to the next, I would say data virtualization, right, which incorporated big data into that might be the new thing. I don't know, right? Or the IoT that you gather the data from sensors, right? And decision, but the data science remain quite the same. This is a discipline about applying statistics, applying mathematics into analyzing data. So concepts are quite old. Some of them dated back to like 1800, right? With certain refinement. So the data science is about extracting knowledge systematically, right, using the well-defined stage. The technology part, the data engineering part, is about how to create a system, how to organize the system so that it can allow you to perform high performance computing. The steps in the work, which in your project you probably have to follow this, and this is the step that I also took when I developed system for a company outside the university, or when I took the job of consultant to the company. The steps of the data science study would start from business understanding, that you need to understand what really is the analytic objective that you want to do, that the company want to do. And then from that, we can then see what types of data that are there and understand the meanings of the data. Then prepare them, create a model, evaluate the model, and finally, if the result is good, deploy the model to production environment. Otherwise, this model will need to go back and then to the sketchboard and work again. This is just like scientific process. In the scientific process, you would have hypothesis and then test until your theory is accepted, right? Is okay, make the difference. Then you can deploy those theory. Then you can propose those theory to the community. Right? So this is this is called the CRISP-DM, cross industry standard process in data mining. Okay, and when we talk about modeling here, what we are referring to the machine learning model. The machine learning model is the way that you allow computer to learn from data without human really have to program to write the rule for them, right? So it has been all around you. You use machine learning every day nowadays. Use them in mobile phone, use them in internet, like from Google search, from opening Facebook, using Line, or even not interacting at all. The company also use machine learning to interact with you, selecting the best option that you would want to sell your stuff. Right? The games, you play games, game company also analyze the behavior in order to say nerf some characters or in order to change a rule so that it would balance, you wouldn't get bored, right? And create a recommender like in Lazada, like in Shopee. So when we talk about machine learning model, so instead of drawing a line manually, we will allow the system to see this is the blue dot and red dot, and it should draw a line so that it would be able to separate the data into two parts to be able to predict the values or choose the product that is the most suitable to customers. In terms of that's one part. Like the name here is data model, right? The name that I proposed at first is actually data modeling and visualization, because you need to do both in order to perform the task in data science. Visualizations is the step that you create a depiction of pictures of the data that you have, and that allow human to comprehend the data better than seeing the numbers. Like this one is the geographical distribution of the airplane delay. By creating this, you know that the delays often occur on the east coast, right, on the east side of the map. This is also another visualization called histogram, which you will learn later on. It will allow you to see the distribution of data and the separation between them. This is called correlation plot, which will allow you to know which variable go together with which variable. All right, so those are the things that you will learn this course. Any questions before we go on to the last topic on the use case? Let's see if I need to take a break. Okay, let's take a short break then. We will take a short break for 7 minutes. Like we will start on 10 sharp. Okay, let's take a few minutes break. Let's continue. Right, the last part is about use cases. I will show you some of the use cases that will be beneficial when you apply techniques in data modeling and visualization to tackle the problems. This will be each of the problem will start from the original. If you think that you still don't know a lot of things about this, then that's fine. This is just introduction. This aims to just introduce you to the topics that you know that these are data. You can make use of them And this is how it is done, right? Starting from this one. This one is a problem of anomaly detection. Manufacturer, a lot of industry plants, we want to detect when there are certain patterns that deviate from normal. Or even financial institution, they want to know this pattern as well. So by detecting these anomalies, it will allow them to understand what happens, what are the, and whether it will happen again in the future. And they can, or it will allow them to know that there is something wrong with the process and need to be fixed, right? So the pain point is that some anomalies occur, and the result is that the QC, the quality control of that, maybe the batch of products would be fail, and that would be the cost that the manufacturer has to bear, which is not good. So and in the process of manufacturing, if the manufacturer can detect that there are certain anomalies in the production process, then they can take care of things before those products go out to the lines, right? So from the problems that data scientist has to talk with the stakeholder to know what are really the pain points, and then propose the solution, and then narrow it down to the analytic objectives. For this one, let's say the analytic objective is the, okay, don't know what happened. Right, so yeah, detecting anomalies and then dealing with it before there's a problem later on. The idea is to monitor the parameters in the manufacturing process and then detect the events that is not normal. So in order to do so, you need to understand the process, understand the business, right? So anomaly detection anomaly detection can be done by taking in the machine data and then perform analysis. And once you know that there are something happen, alert to the responder so that they can take care of the problem. The data may look like this one, that you have like multiple sensors input, and then these multiple sensors input will be collected every 5 minutes, right? Every time steps here, and with that we can use a simple techniques by using statistical modeling to model that the data has to distribute normally. If it is not, like if the points is beyond 2 standard deviation, then it's not normal, or beyond the 3, it is even it can become an anomaly. Then you can alert those two responders. Okay, this is the concept of anomaly detection. By analyzing maybe the distribution of the data, you know that the data are mainly gathered in what part, and then if the data deviate from the middle part with say 3 standard deviation, then we can classify those as anomaly. This is anomaly detection technique. It is used to monitor the parameters, and the outcome is that you can intervene with the problems as soon as it happens. Okay, so that's one use case. Quite simple, right? Actually, just evaluate the mean at respect time, and then creating a statistical monitoring system. With that, it can save the plants a lot of cost and increase the quality of the product that comes out of the plants. The next one is churn prediction. Churn prediction is the idea of churn prediction is to identify the churn behavior. The churn behavior is the behavior that customer leave the company. Think about that. Each customer would have like a gauge here, or score here, would tell that this customer would like to leave the company, or whether this customer are loyal to the company. If the customer leave the company, then the company would lose revenue. So by identifying this person beforehand, company can offer something cheap, something that is like better deal to this customer, so that they will stay with the company, right? With the change in the business landscape nowadays, that instead of selling things turnkey, meaning that selling things so that you can use that things and then be the owner of that thing. The style of business has changed to subscription basis, that you subscribe to the service, and then the company would provide you the service, like for example Zoom here. If here I purchase a license and I have to pay the license every year. So it has changed from buying a software to renting the software and then use the service in the software, which is well good for consumer and good for company, right? But there's also certain chance that, well, I might switch to like Microsoft Team or Google Meet, and yeah, I would be the churn customer for that. Right? So the company would want to predict those individuals and then maybe offer something that is quite good for those individuals so that they will remain with the company for a time. Right? So the objective of analysis here would be identify who are likely to churn. What would need to be done then? Then we need to understand them first, that for a person to leave the company, that person would be happy for a time, and then at some point would fall off of track. Like that person would like, well, there's a problem, I don't want to use it anymore. So there would be like this time that this is churn. You need to have certain times before that this person would change their mind. So the idea is to use the data in the green here to predict the event that will occur in the futures. That means by understanding the process, then we will come up with a data collection like this one. That is, we can then, if we know that this person has a churn event, then we need to go back 1 month and then take the data before that 1 month. Say if this is on January, right? Then if there's an individual churning in January, I need to go back to the event one month before this time, which is December. And then in the December, I need to collect the data, maybe starting from November, October, September, and then use those data to predict the event that will occur in January, right? So by knowing the context, I can translate those contexts into the design, and from the design, I can write a program to scan the data. Right? You take database course together this semester, right? So I can select the individual and the data 3 months before that time, which is quite a little bit difficult if you do it in database. But if you do it in R or Python, then it will be it will be easier. For the not churn, this need to be random out, and then there will be churn person. Then we need to have this way to collect the data. Okay, and what are the data that need to be collected for churn prediction? Well, the 4 types, right? Remember, like demographic, in transaction, interaction, behavior. So for telecom company, it can be like the service handset, the service months, how many months that you are remaining with the company, the package that you use, the age. Transaction are like CDR, internet usage, call usage. Interactions, for example, whether you contact call center, whether you access the app, or the behavioral data like browsing behavior, purchasing behavior, right? These are the data types that can be collected. And then in modeling process, the data will need to be explored to exploratory data analysis, right? To know the types of data, clean and explore, and then create the model, which you can see that these are the 3 models that we will cover in this course. And then evaluate at the end to know the performance, and then deploy it if it is good. Okay, so these are the steps in churn prediction. And the results, you can use the model to predict the segments of customer that are likely to churn, may not likely to churn, and for those that are likely to churn, you can impose the churn prevention measure so that you can save customer with high value to remain with the company. Okay, so this is the process of churn prediction. And so the outcome would be that the company would be able to identify potential churner and save them. And the usage is to offer those churner with some retention campaign, or maybe engage with those potential churner to make them more involved with the company. Right, so Another example is data upsells. You want to sell more data. So the question, another objective now be what product to sell and to whom. Then now you have different problem here because you want to know which product to sell and to whom. That makes the problem become something like you have offer, positive offer. That means if you offer and then customer respond, that is positive offer. Positive neutral means that customer just come in and buy without any offer. And then negative offer is like when you offer this to customer will not buy in the time period that you have. So with these three types, now you can create a model to predict whether customer would buy naturally or whether customer would buy with the offer. Right, and then we can select the best model to perform prediction. We call this task a classification task, which you learn that later on in the class in the about the end of the semester, about the latter half of the semester. And the use here is to select the product that will be the most suitable for customers so that you can increase the revenue through upselling. Right. Your problem may be you want to analyze purchasing pattern, right? Whether when would you purchase? Right? When you, for example, this is an example of when would you top up the mobile phone, right? Would you top up regularly, recharging them regularly, or will you just top up to keep the account alive to have the validity, or top up when the money run out? So there are different patterns here. Knowing different patterns, knowing customers would allow the business to deal with different types of customer differently. Right. So how do we know? Right. So we need to, if we were to perform something like demographic segmentation, right, dividing based on the demographic data, these are quite static, but usually it will give you raw response. Because you don't understand the actual behavior, it is difficult to approaching the customer that way. So with the pattern-based segmentation, it would allow the company to get whether this is regular pattern, irregular pattern. For regular pattern, you may offer something that is more stable because these are people who like stable recharging or top up with a stable pattern. You may offer something like the postpaid or the other type of products that in that line to the customers, and then this would have higher expected outcome. How do we do that? You need to have model, different types of model to do the job, but you will not learn this here in this course. This is more advanced topics. It's called the survival analysis, right? This is the idea is to analyze the survival data, analyze the pattern in time on how that it will repeat itself, and then perform something like cluster analysis, which we'll not cover in this course as well. I would suggest that you take for further study from this course, maybe taking the big data course. That's one thing, or the machine learning course. It will allow you to understand that. So by analyzing this, the survival pattern, the recharging pattern, and then do the cluster to group the data, you get the purchasing pattern, and then you can estimate the value of customer out of this, right? And then you can perform marketing plans, like when to approach the customer. You may approach the customer when they want to buy stuff. Right? This has been proven already that it is better than just randomly calling you. If the company call you when you want to purchase, they have high chance to sell stuff for you. Or company may want to influence the pattern, like, okay, this is like 7 recharge a year. They may want to increase to 9 recharge a year by giving some types of promotion in the usage, for example. And company can also use this to estimate whether this customer has already left the company or not by taking a look at the recharging pattern, and if you are supposed to be there but not there, right? Like suppose you recharge every month, but company see that yes, it has already been 2 months and you have not recharged, then something must be wrong. Right? So maybe you has already has already take another company offer. Right? So they can do the retention campaign with this. Okay, this is the last example. This is the example from I think most of the banks has to pass through this. This is a slide from the Bank of Thailand. When you want to buy a house, you need to if you have cash, then you can just buy a house, right? But if you don't, then you need to apply for the loan. When applying for the loan, the bank has to evaluate the score, whether you pass the credit scoring. Usually this is called the A score, the application score. If you pass the basic scoring, and then you probably get the loan approved. Usually this is based on the salary that you got, the company that you work with, and the other things, right? For the existing customers, there is a model that would track the behavior of the customer. This is called the B score model, to track whether you would pay on time or not. These two are the models that the Bank of Thailand require the banks to have in order to provide loan for their customers. Right? So you need to have a model to assess application. You need to have the model to follow the risk of customers. And the data used here can be the demographic data, like the age, education, occupations, or the transactional payment data, like whether the customer has paid regularly or whether there are accumulated debt for that customers. And then when you use this data together, then you can create the scoring model. And this is the requirement of the Bank of Thailand, that the credit scoring must not be identifiable to the to individual. In order to create such a model, the bank has to frame the data collection in this way: that you have the pre-application data, and then you have the data that follow through the 1 year after the customer get the applications. Collecting this data from a number of years and then creating a model to learn the pattern, which customer would turn bad. Which type of customer would turn bad. You know which variables will associating with problems in the future, right? So this is credit scoring model. And in creating a model, you need to the investigator needs to sample the data from a large set of customer, and then creating a model, and then perform inference, mean evaluating the application coming in, and then they will know the scoring of the risk of that specific individuals. And in the usage, they can use this score as a threshold to say if your score is more than 400, then you will get credit. Otherwise, you will not get approved. Right? Seems like I put in too many examples for the first time. This is the last one, I think, is product recommendation. Has been used in websites like Amazon, Lazada, Shopee, and Netflix, and others. The recommendation system is a system that take in a previous record and then try to create a recommendation list, a list of items for customers, so that marketing department can use this list to do marketing stuff, to propose, to send offer to customers. And the automatic distribution system like SMS, email, and all the ads can take this list and then show that information to you, right? So this is recommendation system. So the use case, it has been used in a lot of brands, a lot of companies, like I would say Agoda, Shopee, Lazada, in online applications. Although I would say that many service provider in Thailand still has not been there yet, because they have not gathered enough data or create a dynamic system that will allow them to do this stuff, right? For example, for the Zarola to sell the clothing product, they have to analyze customer preference and then optimize the marketing strategy based on users to send to specific users. Many companies has now create this model so that they can send the marketing offer to individuals to suit the test, to do the test, and so that it would increase the chance that customer would take up the campaign. Let me check. Yeah. So here, the sentiment analysis is the task that this is more advanced that you need. Sometimes when you post in the Facebook, when you post to Twitter, you know that when you post in public, company can gather the data and then analyze the sentiment that you post. Not just company, politician also can gather those data and create a model to analyze the sentiment. To know that when they post this, you like this, when you post that, you do not like. And then the company also take this into advantage to understand their customers by gathering social network data through crawler, and then analyze the text data to say predict the sentiment. Okay, so, and then from that you can use the data to do the brand tracking, to track whether the brand is good or whether the topic is a positive or a negative topic. All right. The last example is in the real estate, right? You can use model to predict the house price. The real estate company can predict that if they were to construct develop the housing at this region, then what would be the house price at this region, right? Before the era of machine learning, this is the task that you need to ask expert in real estate pricing estimation to estimate that. But now the company can do it on their own by using multiple variables to see what are the variables related to the house price, and then estimate the house price or the growth of the house price so that they can perform investment. Okay, so that's it for today. There are lots of things, right? Well, we use about 3 hours. Just 2 hours to cover everything here. All right. So here is the introduction to the course, to the concept of data visualization and data modeling. Right. Any questions? Okay. There's 2 things for my course here, because this is an online course, right? And mostly I will ask. Well, I will one thing that I will convey the content that I have here, but if you do not understand any of these, or if you have questions, actually it's not just limited to online though, I would say the first issue here, because this is also true when I teach on the campus as well. Because some of the topics are quite, I would say they are quite vast. Like some of them may be in business domain, some of them are technical, some of them are beyond what you study right now. So if you have questions, please ask so that I can answer those questions at the moment that you have. Because if you wait until the end, that would be a little bit problematic, because I would sometimes not remember what have been covered earlier, right? So when you have question, type into the chat. At least type into the chat. I can interact with that. And secondly, don't forget to go to DataCamp. All right. You need to use university email and use the link that I provided to go to the organization part of the DataCamp, and then you can take assignment from there. Okay. Any question regarding the course structure and the content here? I will post the video probably tonight. I think I will work on I have to edit them first. I will need to edit the screen capture together with the video here and the voice track. Any question or comments? Well, if you have any, you can post them to the group, right? Don't be shy. If you have questions or if you have comments, please be interactive, right? If you don't want to post in the group, you can send the message to me. Usually it will take. Well, I you can send the message. Well, I interact pretty interactive though. I'm very fast. So if I'm not busy, then you probably get the response as soon as I see that. Right? If there's no more question, then let's call it a day. And I will post a video later on for today's. Thank you for attending. And we have questions. Right. Okay. Although it's the direct DM though. What kind of penalty do you receive for finishing DataCamp assignment late? In the assignment, you earn the experience score, the experience in the DataCamp when you finish the assignments, partly or the whole things, depending on the setting there. So if you ask me if you finish them late, what will happen? You will not get the experience, right? When you will not get the experience because it is already late for that. And when at the end, when I convert the score, then I have to compile all the experience into the score. Then it will be proportional to the experience that you obtain. So if you ask me about the penalties, those are I don't want to call it penalty. You will not earn the score because the deadline has passed. The thing about the event that occur in the games, right? If you do not participate even in time, then you will not get items. Can the project group be less or more than 5 people? It can be less than 5 people, but not more than 5 people, because more than that, I don't think you can. Actually, 5 people is already more than I'm comfortable with. In order to actually, the right size of the group for this type of stuff is 2, but I cannot grade 2 people work for every one of you guys. Too many of you guys here, 120, 150 of you guys. 75 projects is not viable. I would die. So 5 people or less. Credit. The question here is credit scoring not allow you to specify people. How can you? I would say that in the model, when creating the model, they should not include. Actually, this is like not just personal data though. I would say you should not include ID into your model because ID doesn't mean things, right? If you include the ID into your model, say you have phone number, and then if you create a model based on your phone number, well, you are not fortune teller, right? So yeah, doesn't make sense. So in this sense, it means that you should not include the ID into the analysis because of the personal data protection. That's one thing. Another thing is that it doesn't work though. Sometimes if we create an overfit model, because if you treat the ID as categorical data, as a string, then the model will try to specific those settings to just those ID, and that means the model will be overfitted to the ID. Right, so that's a thing that is not good. Some IDs are okay to include that to the model, but you need to treat them a little bit different, like the province. You may have province ID. From the province ID, you can transform them into, say, one hot encoding to the categories, to multiple columns, and then you can use them in the analysis of data. Okay, any more questions? If you read review my lecture here, or if you watch the video again and then you have questions, post them to the group, right? So that we can share with lots of you here. I actually, before the class, I tried to search for a way to create the chat stream. That would be cool, right? It'd be nice. Seems like I need to use Twitch or maybe stream to like Facebook or YouTube. Problem is that is a little bit more effort than I can achieve right now. So yeah, for now, let's stick it with this. All right. So if there's no more question, then yeah, let's end here. See you next time. It's 8:30, right? It's 8:30. That's that is the way that I kind of remind myself. So it's 8:30, and usually the class would last for 2 hours probably, not more than that. I would not want to have like long lecture online. It's a little bit boring. Okay, so that's about it. And the class will be in this format, but sometime I will write the code as well, which I will show you the R programs, share the R program writing that. So if you want to work together with me, you need to prepare the computer, and then it will be a little bit difficult though, because you need to have two screen, one screen for me and the other for the thing that you work on. So my suggestion is that if you can do that, then do it. If not, then you can watch video later and then practice, right, together with what I'm doing. And I will give the lab for you to work on, which will be based on the code that I use in the lecture anyway. So I think on every lectures that will be the labs that you have to work with. All right. So see you next time, and have a nice day. Bye bye.